Gentlemen reunited. We may all commence cigar smoking and brandy drinking.
Relax your stomachs now as well, so they all hang out.
I don't want to relax my stomach too much because, I'll fart. Hello and welcome to this week's Formica Table podcast. We're having a good old ganders at the 12th episode in this return to the fertile dreamscape we once knew and loved as Twin Peaks. Although now, with episodes like this one, I'm not sure what we could call it. Originally the show was to be called Northwest Passage. Alternative titles today might be Borefest Passage, or my favourite, Tedium Peaks. Unlike as usual, or rather, unusually, Mark's Spot Walker, will be covering for Jason Evolution of the Arber's hosting duties while he's on holiday on the Costa del Southport. Fortunately, he still made it online today to get all touchy-feely about his favourite show. But he's disappointed since I told him we won't be discussing Game of Thrones. And finally, we're joined, as always, by the deceptively mild-mannered murderer, Killer Rob, whose specialities include tracking devices and explosives.
Hello.
So, introduce yourselves, Jason.
I'm Jason, and my motto is, let's rock.
And RBT Robertson.
Hi, I'm Rob Valentine, and I think I'm going to need a bigger shovel. Okay, first thing, opening credits again. This week, I was thinking, these are definitely the opening credits to a different show than the one we're watching.
Were you actually tuned into the right show?
I was, yeah. Unfortunately, I was. I thought I could be watching Game of Thrones right now. But all this...
That's probably what a lot of people were thinking.
I could be finishing...
all across the globe.
Yeah, I could be finishing The Sopranos. Or... what if a Lower Lows on? Yeah. Or an episode of Porridge, perhaps. I could have been watching Fletcher and Godber having a fun old time at a slave prison or something. But no, I watched this. I didn't like this one, fellas. I just felt bored, angry, frustrated, and sad.
Jason, do you want to...
Okay. Actually, my earlier harsh attitude about the program has softened slightly. In that I'm pretty okay with the first 2/3 of
me
the
too.
episode.
Yeah.
And it's really just the last third.
More than pretty okay, in fact.
It's really just the last third which turned it into a big turn-off for me. So, again, I feel like it's a situation where some scenes are overly padded out, stuff which is in there which could be cut out, one could argue, and I think in most cases I'm prepared to let it fly, but in this particular episode it kind of crossed over a line where I couldn't forgive this particular episode. As I mentioned before, I'm in this for the long haul, so one duff episode isn't...
You'd be a bit rubbish to get 12 episodes into it and then go, no, 12 hours is enough for me.
Yeah, that's it. No more.
Okay, there's 6 to go, but no, you're not getting those last 6 hours of my life. No, sorry, Bob.
But I have to say, watching it twice was some of the scenes which I didn't like initially, I've kind of warmed to, and I was able to hone in on what I didn't like, and it was the last third.
Okay, well, let's find out which scenes you liked and which ones you didn't like. So, first off, just to say for myself, I concur with what you're saying. The first 2/3, maybe the first half, more realistically, of the show, I enjoyed. I thought there was a somber tone to it. It felt like a stopgap episode, but not so much like a filler episode. That is until we get to about halfway through or 2/3 of the way through. yeah, there are some episodes made me feel a bit angry. You know, the episode that we saw when we were all together, I think it was episode 9, was it?
I think so.
Yeah, that was the bread sandwich episode. I mean, that just was like it was like nothing. I don't feel the same way about this episode. I thought there were moments which felt, if they didn't further the narrative, then at least they sort of deepened the mythology a little bit, or gave us something more from the characters we know and love. But yeah, definitely a frustrating episode. But anyway, let's go on with it. First off, we get a scene in the hotel bar. I think is it a hotel that they're all staying in Buckhorn?
I'm not sure whether
right.
I think they might have left Buckhorn because the exterior looked like somewhere else that we've seen, like Washington or Seattle or somewhere like that. So
Gordon, Albert, Tammy Preston are later joined by Diane, in which these two women are invited by the men into the inner circle of the Blue Rose Task Force.
You're asking me to join the Blue Rose Task Force?
Which is, we found out now, is an elite FBI group led by Philip Jeffries, who I imagine insists on not talking about this stuff at all, and it's dedicated to the special cases that continue the Blue Book UFO investigations. And it turns out that Albert, Dale, and Chet Desmond, played by Chris Isaac in Firewall with Me, were the only members. I felt like it was definitely a Mr. Expositional scene, telling us stuff that we already knew, more or less. There
didn't really need to know.
Yeah, there were some nuggets of information that we didn't get before. But
yeah, I didn't like this exposition. I didn't like what was exposited. I thought the whole explanation of what the Blue Rose thing was disappointing. And
yeah, it was a bit of a deflator.
Yeah, it demythologized it, and it made it as a kind of a lame sub X-Files setup.
Yeah, I agree.
I am intrigued though as to what this woman said and who she was and da-da-da.
We called it the Blue Rose after a phrase uttered by a woman in one of these cases just before she died.
Because I'm thinking, does it fall in line with my theory about the girl in episode 8? You know, was she the original Blue Rose case?
Yes.
Yeah, but I prefer mysteries that don't always have answers. And when you start answering things, it's like Roberto said. It lets some of the air out of these mysteries.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That feels like a bit more like Mark Frost trying to play whack-a-mole with some of the mysteries that Lynch has brought up.
I also kind of felt that when Albert was explaining it to Tammy, she didn't look like she was actually listening and comprehending what he was saying.
But Robert, she was acting.
Yeah.
She was very, very busy with acting.
And then she says, you're asking me to join the Blue Rose Task Force? It's like, yeah, I am.
It was, she sort of did these kind of orgasmic moanings that seemed to go on like forever, and it was like watching a sort of wine tasting event.
Yeah, it was off kilter, but to be honest, in the scheme of things,
she kept making those noises.
I don't mind Tammy Preston. I've kind of made my peace with her kind of style of overacting or off kilter acting, whatever you want to call it, and that doesn't bother me. In the scheme of all the other issues that this particular episode has, Tammy Preston is not the biggest culprit.
And then we learn that Diane is on her way, and then she appears slightly too promptly. And she's also welcomed into the fold, which is all a bit weird, really. Because I'm imagining if she's been partnering with Cooper all these years, then she is sort of on the inside. I suppose if she's not.
Well, that's what
employed-
they say. She said,
Yeah.
with your acute knowledge of Blue Rose cases, do you want to join the team? Which is obviously some kind of pincer move by
Yes.
Albert and Gordon.
Yeah, because they need to keep their enemies closer than their friends, as it were. Listen, I need to say something about the energy levels this week, gentlemen, because I know that it's not been the best episode, but we need to pump things up a little bit. If there's no enthusiasm for the episode, let's have an enthusiasm just because we're alive. And we're online.
Just pump me up in post. All right,
I'll fix it in post. Don't worry, I'll fix it in post. It'll be fine. Right? Okay.
I would give good money to see Mark pump Robert.
I'll bet you would. Filthy. I liked at the end. I liked there was a sound that returned from Firewalk with me, and when Diane agrees to sort of come on board, she sort of says,
Let's rock.
And does that weird thing with her fingers.
She
as
does
well.
that weird thing with her fingers, which is great. And then Lynch taps the table like he's Frank Underwood.
Yeah.
From House of Cards. Another show that's better than this one. And with that, we're back in the Northwest, looking at some majestic Douglas firs. And there's the first of several quick scenes in this episode. And this first one being Jerry legging it out of the woods.
I would have preferred this as the opening of the episode, personally. Jerry just running out. Are his hands red?
That's what I thought. I thought as he committed a murder. On second viewing, I think he's wearing red fingerless gloves.
He is.
Oh.
I don't think he's
Oh, well.
killed anyone, don't worry.
So what you're saying is nothing's happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's the danger, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
because this whole thing with Jerry out stoned out in the woods having conversations with his feet.
I am not your foot.
This is great. It's mildly funny. Where's it going?
Yeah, it's very difficult to say at this juncture because we saw Ben and Jerry together in the first or second episode, I think. Or
Suddenly,
third.
I feel like ice cream.
Yeah, and since then, Jerry's been in the woods for no discernible reason.
Yeah.
And here we are at episode 12, and all we can say about this whole Jerry arc is that he has been stoned in the woods and is now run out of the woods.
Yeah, that is all we can say.
I'm hoping that he's running out of the woods because something has sort of scared the crap out of him, other than his feet talking to him and, all the other stuff that's been happening to him.
If that's the case, I would have liked some kind of hint, because I was hoping that him being in the woods would mean that perhaps he came across some kind of lodge-related thing, which would tie him into the larger narrative that's going on. But having seen him kind of like run out of the woods, now I'm kind of thinking, okay.
The next scene, I really liked this one. This was a big hit for me. Sarah Palmer, who we've only seen once. Previous to this, watching a nature documentary with animals tearing strips of skin and flesh from carcasses. Pretty grotesque stuff. Now she's on a booze run at the local supermarket. She sort of jumps at the till sound. She's very jumpy, and she spends a certain amount of time deliberating over turkey jerky, and she warns that men are coming,
and men are coming.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
I am trying to tell you that you have to watch out.
She's definitely my favourite thing in this episode, and I think she's really good in it.
Oh, she's incredible.
I think she's mastered being really, really, really edgy and on edge.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that that Sarah perhaps has some kind of like weird connection to the supernatural things that are going on.
Well, she
in
could see
Twin
Bob,
Peaks.
couldn't she?
She could see Bob, and she had a vision of the white horse.
Yeah.
And
Although
so,
that's the other thing about that Fire Walk with Me, is that sort of suggests that all that stuff is maybe drug related or drug aided.
even so, I still think there is because she saw the white horse, and we in this season got to see a white horse when the curtains went up in the red room, and we saw the chevron stretching off to the horizon. So to me, that connects the two things. So I think she's having some kind of weird premonition, and the men are coming. Is she talking about Mr. C? Is she talking about the FBI? I think
Woodsman?
what she's saying,
Red.
Woodsman even, I mean, I think she's talking about everything starting to converge on the town of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
She represents really the core Twin Peaks family unit of Leland, Laura, and Sarah. The most underexplored part of that family is her, and she's the one who lived and has had to have lived with the legacy of that horror. And actually thinking about this series, her life is just a fascinating and key part of this whole story that's kind of ripe for exploration.
Absolutely. Yeah, really. I think for me it was like, that I didn't really like the Hurt Locker. But, there's that scene at the end where he's sort of standing in the supermarket, funnily enough, and it's clear just from the way it's shot that he's never going to fit back in this life,
Yeah.
And I think this scene with Sarah does a similar-ish thing, because it shows somebody who is still dealing with the after effects of a massive trauma, even though it happened 25 years ago, and it is really interesting, because it's not something that we see often in films. The films are usually the trauma and then the film ends. You don't stick around this long to find out where the characters are 25 years later. So I think that's what's really fascinating about this scene, and also great performances from the two clerks as well.
God, yeah.
I thought they acted as a nice counterpoint to her increasing hysteria.
Yeah, even though I'm completely with her in her hysteria, I think I sort of you feel for her. It's an interesting place to look at. In terms of a character's development, as what does this kind of trauma do to somebody, and I imagine episodes like this is a pretty good answer.
Yeah,
I also really loved the obvious juxtaposition between her and just these two really young store clerks. Because it's their first jobs. They're still in high school. The boy looks especially young, but the girl looks not unlike Laura. But in their whole life experience, they can't imagine her life experience. They're young, and she has lived her whole life with terrible experience. So her life and what she's going through is a universe away from them. It's like it's beyond anything they can imagine.
Completely.
And I love that. I really loved, and I'd have loved a whole episode just about Sarah Palmer.
Yeah.
But the thing is, she can really, really carry it, and her face is it's like a landscape. There's so many stories in it. She's fascinating to watch, absolutely.
And what I liked about it as well was that it's another example of how Lynch has this ability to take just an ordinary place, a supermarket or a home or an office or wherever it may be, and just make your skin just creep,
I think a lot of that in this particular scene was due to the soundtrack. There was
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
had
sure.
a-
Was it Badalamenti or was it something from Firewalk with Me?
It was from Firewalk with Me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also like the fact that it was just something as ordinary as turkey jerky that kind of set her off.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that there was something different about the
Is
place.
there such a thing as turkey jerky? It just sounds ridiculous.
I
mean, just the name turkey jerky. It sounds suspiciously Lynchian.
I've only ever bought beef jerky once and found like it was chewing on a belt. So I thought, who would do this for fun?
The fat trout. That's not an insult.
The new fat trout.
The new fat trout.
The new fat trout, yeah.
So we find Carl as portrayed by Hollywood's greatest nonagenarian.
Mm-hmm.
He finds out one of his tenants is so short on money that he's now selling his blood. And so Carl helps him out by giving him some cash and telling him to not worry about next month's rent. It's a very sweet scene.
It's a very sweet scene. I like the kind of random weirdness of people selling blood, and I liked the guy, you know, I forget his name, who was actually selling the blood.
Yeah, I forget his name too. Sorry. In fact, I don't think I ever knew his name.
But something in this scene kind of like struck me as kind of like slightly off, which is I find there's a slight discrepancy between the Carl Rod of the Fat Trout in Firewalk with Me and the Carl Rod presented.
Screw him, man. He's gone. Yeah.
But he was very kind of like, he was very irritable. He was very kind of like jittery about the kind of like, you know.
Yeah, he was grumpy. He was definitely a grump. Yeah.
That's not the way out to Deputy Cliff's trailer, I told you.
I'm not going to Deputy Cliff's trailer.
Well, where the hell are you going?
You know, and he just wants to be left alone because he's gone places.
You see, I've already gone places. I just want to stay where I am.
Yeah.
You know, and this guy, this Carl Rod, is the kind of guy who wants to help people, and I don't know, it just seems like a different person.
25 years though, Jason. People change, man. They change.
And people are different in Firewalk with Me than TV series.
Yes, exactly. I was just going to say, because I just got a world of pain from you two about talking about Leland Palmer. You know, that last week, was it last week?
Last week or the week before, yeah.
Yeah. And because he's different in the film than he is in the TV series.
No, he is. Which means a world of pain from both of us. I agree with you.
Sorry, no, you're right.
World of pain from me.
It wasn't a world of pain either. You were very gentle, in fact. But, no, there are discrepancies between the film and the series, and I guess that Lynch revised when he came into doing the movie, and I guess revisions have happened this time around as well. I mean, this revision of Carl, he's kind of very periphery. It doesn't bother me massively. I did wonder actually if the fact that he's such a do-gooder is a major sort of plot point that ties in with the whole episode 8 sort of mythology about good and evil. In that, you know, we talked before about the physics of evil.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And is there I mean, it's logical to suggest then that there's a physics of goodness. You know,
yes, positive and negative forces. Yeah.
Yeah, are do-gooders drawn to each other at a molecular level in the same way that evildoers seem to be?
There was an interesting tweet by Mark Frost when somebody asked him about Carl Rod and asked if Carl Rod was, you know, because he in the previous episode he had like the magic car, you know, that had the CB radio and that sort of stuff that was directly patched into the police, whether he was a member of the Bookhouse Boys. And Mark Frost said one of the originals. So
that's a nice one.
Yeah. Which again seems I can't square the Carl Rod in Firewalk with me being a bookhouse boy. It seems like revisionism.
Definitely, yeah. But I forgive it in a way because it's a process, isn't it? I mean, I don't mind it.
It doesn't bother me greatly, but I just noticed it and it was flagged in my head, and I felt compelled to mention it.
Yeah, this little scene does feel like an introductory scene to a secondary scene with Carl. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a setup for another scene that we don't get. Because this is all we get of Carl in this episode.
Every scene that we've had with Carl, he's usually been helping people, or Actually, Jason, what I thought you were going to say is that Carl was somehow connected to the White Lodge, or
well, we do know from the secret history that
he's
been to the Black or the White Lodge. He was kidnapped along with Margaret Lanterman. Taken to one of these supernatural places.
I mean, I would say that it seems fairly evident that he has something of the White Lodge about him now. Anyway, but it just made me think of also the scene with Heidi and Shelley in the Double R, and talking about Miriam and saying, let's do something nice for her next time she's in, because she can't afford to leave tips. This. And then I thought, does that mean that something bad's going to happen to Carl? Because in much the same way that Miriam was nearly offed.
Perhaps.
And then I got worried because don't want to see Harry Dean Stanton. I'm not sure if he can handle. I'm not sure if his bones can take it. Any action sequences or anything like that. He is in remarkably fine fettle. And then there was another quickie. There were several quickie scenes which somehow helped to make the whole thing feel like it was moving in a way that these episodes often don't feel like. They're sort of ploughing ahead in the narrative sense. But so the first one was with Jerry running out of the woods, and then there was this one with
Dougie.
Dougie. It's also quite funny because it's like there's an establishing shot of the house, which we recognise, and then we there's a couple of shots to get us outside onto the back garden, I think, and it's Dougie, and he's playing ball with his son, and I think it's actually the greatest Dougie scene we've ever had.
It's
because it's only about 10 seconds long.
It was mercifully short, but no, I'm not being facetious. I actually thought it was a great scene. It was funny.
It's another prick tease, though. I thought, is this the scene where baseball concussion brings back Dale Cooper?
It may still be, though, Rob. It may still be.
Yeah.
I didn't use it hard enough for concussion.
It was a lame throw, so I kind of thought, nah, that's not it.
Yeah.
But until the kid threw, I thought, is that what this is going to be?
Yeah.
But no.
I liked it because it just felt like it was really building up to something. And I think, it is Lynch fucking with us, but because last week we had
damn good
Carl McLaughlin's voice for the first time say damn good pie. And then so everyone of course is on the edge of their seats waiting to see Cooper this week, Dougie, and then there's this gentle build up from the exterior of the house, and then it's just a ball in the head, and we're off to the next scene, and I sort of doff my cap to Lynch for that.
Yeah, I like Sonny Jim's reaction as well. He's just like throws the ball, it bounces off his dad, and he's just like.
Yeah, I think viewers are getting more antsy than they have been previously because
yeah, we've only got 6 more episodes to go, and it's like, come on, we need to start wrapping shit up.
Yeah. And actually, it's kind of amusing to me because I was here like weeks ago when Albert met Diane, and they say hi. and then he says hi, and then it cuts, and then we don't see her again for a couple of weeks. Now that was driving me mental, that kind of stuff. But I'm sort of like, I'm in the rhythm now, like, and it's quite amusing now to see people are sort of freaking out over this stuff. And we're looking at the two mountains, and
I liked that.
Oh yes,
and the Badalamenti,
and Laura Palmer's theme playing over the mountains, and Hawk arrives at the ominous, unmistakable Palmer residence.
Yep.
I did think, why on earth is she still living there?
That's not going to be good for you.
Perhaps she's a masochist.
Well, you know, from Firewalk with Me, kind of suggests she's to some degree complicit. So maybe there is an element of penance.
Oh, I don't like that stuff, but okay.
Yeah, I know, I mean neither, but it's got to be there.
Yeah. God, I would love more of this stuff, basically, you know. Something in the kitchen.
I feel fine now.
Somebody in the house?
No. No, just something in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I actually get chills just thinking about her scene. Also because her face, there's something unpredictable about her. You know, you know, there's something. She looks nigh on sort of possessed or something. There's a kind of exorcist sort of quality. You know, I'm not sure what expression is going to be on her face the next time I look at her. You know.
It's a quality that Lynch sometimes succeeds in getting out of his actors for certain characters, in the same way that Frank Booth feels almost demon haunted. You know, the way he's, you know, when he snarls up at the ceiling from the floor. She's got that possessed, tortured, harpy surrounded Lynchian atmosphere about her, and I love that.
She would be terrifying as one of Lynch's darker characters. You know, had Bob been taken Sarah Palmer instead of Leland Palmer, it would have been equally interesting, I think. I
do like Hawk's patience with her, though.
Yeah.
Utter, you know,
and
pure
I think
compassion.
He knows that perhaps something kind of weird and supernatural is happening, because he emphasizes, you know, let me know about anything. You know? Not just, you know, it's like, I know something weird is happening here, so, you know, come to me with it.
Does he say that?
I love that moment.
Yeah.
Okay, because he also says, let me know if I can be of any help. And then he goes, help of any kind, which could be taken. I sort of stifled a giggle at that point, but
but you would, though, Mark.
That's just me.
Do we want to have like perhaps a guess about what was happening in the kitchen?
What was happening in the kitchen?
Because I had visions of that delivery boy tied up in the kitchen for some bizarre reason. You know, the kid from the supermarket who said, "I know where she lives. I could drop the stuff off."
That makes loads of sense and is very interesting. It's better than my guess, but what
was your guess?
My guess is
trapped wind.
After watching Firewalk with Me, where again she is different than she is in the TV series, in that she is definitely aware of the abuse but blocking it out. I kind of think, you know, in almost kind of a Lovecraftian way, she is quietly
her guilt manifest, or
living her. Yeah, she's quietly living her life, haunted by, you know, literally by her demons, but things from the Black Lodge are in there with her. This is the first episode I've been thinking about Sarah Palmer as a character with a story that she is the centre of in her own right, rather than a supporting character in a father-daughter abuse saga.
Yeah.
And
I like being here. I mean,
I
like being
exactly.
Here.
It's the overlooked narrative in Twin Peaks, really.
Yeah,
actually criminally overlooked in many ways.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
But I think this is probably about as much of her as we're going to get. Although we do have 7 more episodes, but based on
squander.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but at this point, based on experience, I kind of think we're going to have some a few interesting Sarah Palmer moments waved at us, and just have to left to fill the rest in.
In a way, I'm almost just grateful for these scenes that we got in this episode. I mean, I really felt that up until this point, maybe a couple of scenes more, that this was a sort of relatively solid episode with scenes of the like that I'd hoped for, prior to the season sort of arriving on our screens. There's a sort of tone as well to the episode that sort of seemed fairly uniform. I think one of the criticisms that's been levelled at this season of Twin Peaks is that it's like sitting at home watching the TV and having somebody channel hop for you, in that the tone is so kind of uneven and inconsistent. That I felt like this episode, certainly the first half of it, had this sort of consistent sort of tone. Also, the look was kind of desaturated. And if I may, just segue into the next scene. This the scene in the hospital, another quick scene which kind of helped the pacing of things. The camera's just sort of travelling along the hospital corridor, and we find Miriam, who's in a terrible state, but it could have been shot for the pilot. It looked exactly like, texturally and tonally, and the colours. It just looked like the original series of Twin Peaks, particularly the pilot. Yeah, it reminded me of like when we find Ronit Pulaski in the intensive care as well.
I guess it shows that Miriam is in a coma, so she's not told anybody what she knows yet. Although, because Sheriff Truman seems to know that it's Richard, do we need her awake? I don't know.
For me, it created a modicum of suspense in that, is she still in danger? I was worried.
Yeah.
Is she okay now? Has she shared the knowledge that's going to... And the fact she shared it, does that mean she'll be spared now?
Do we care about her? I suppose we care about her a little bit because she's a nice person.
Yeah, I care about her.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm on the hunt for people to care about in this.
I'm right there with you, buddy. So, and then we've got another quickie with Diane on her mobile.
Yeah.
She receives a text, Las Vegas ? And then she sends, they haven't asked yet, as a reply. I don't understand what's happening there. Do you, Jason? Sorry, I say Jason because Jason just watches these things a lot.
Yeah. Well,
more than we do, Rob.
Whoever is messaging Diane knows about Dougie and the whole stuff that's going on in Las Vegas, but the FBI at this point in time have no idea about Dougie. So whoever's on the other end of the line, be it Mr. C or Philip Jeffries, is going, have they asked about Dougie yet? And she's like, no, they haven't asked yet, which implies that perhaps she knows a little bit more, because she obviously knows what Las Vegas refers to.
Yeah.
So
but I guess in a way that's quite helpful then, because I didn't really read it in that way, but it's obvious now that you mention it that it's like she's basically serving as a sort of monitor for Mr. C in terms of like how far ahead are they. Mm-hmm. How far ahead is the Blue Rose Task Force? Yeah. What's the progress?
Yeah. So it's like spy versus spy. It's like she's there keeping an eye on the FBI, and the FBI are keeping an eye on her. And it's I quite like this kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
It has massively diminished her character, though, or rather the power.
It has
held by her character.
Yeah.
If you think back to when we first met her and when she meets Mr. C in prison,
that was so good. And I'm not going to go on about it because I go on about it every time we talk about it. We talk about Laura Dern or Diane. I go on about that scene, and I'm just getting to be a broken record now, so I'm going to stop. But I totally agree, Rob. And you can say it instead of me now.
Well, I'm going to focus more on the now. I'm not living in the past, Mark. I'm in the now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
learn from the past, plan for the future, live in the now.
My gut feeling is that David Lynch wants us to think that she is communicating with Mr. C, but I think that she is communicating with Philip Jeffries. That's my gut feeling.
To me, that's preferable. But again, she's a plot character I'm watching rather than a character imbued with powerful, empathetic qualities that I can actually experience this through. So, yeah, I'm just watching her now. She's a lesser character to me.
She was introduced to us as a pair of shoes that we can step into, and you know, she was a potential surrogate, and in a desert of protagonists.
Yeah,
and
we desperately needed one of those.
Well, I was distracted by her gawky neck muscles, so I never stepped into those shoes.
I know which scene that you were, because now you've ruined it for me now, because now I can't help but stare at her neck muscles, so thanks for that, Jason. I'm never going to watch Wild at Heart in the same way.
Well, how could you now?
No, it's broken.
I know.
My work here is done.
The sheriff then pays a visit to Ben Horn to let him know about his about the nuclear level evil that his grandson has unleashed on the town.
Yeah.
And to ask as a kindly gesture that if he'd mind paying for Miriam's medical fees. What do we think about this? I thought it was beautifully performed actually by the two of them.
Oh yeah,
yes.
You're watching two masters, you know, really, really sort of like work that scene, because there was a little bit of clunky dialogue. I felt.
Oh
but,
yeah,
but but they're so good. But particularly Ben's going on about the bike that his dad got him and stuff like that.
I love that bike that my father got for me.
I liked that. I really liked it. Yeah,
I liked it in the way that it was delivered. But you know, if you sort of imagine that dialogue on a page, you'd just go, what the crap is this? You know? But it takes a really, really skilled actor to take it from the page and deliver it in such a way that makes it not just palatable but believable and totally sells it. And I think what's his name, Richard Baymer, manages to do that with bells on.
I think sometimes the dialogue can be clunky in this show, but it's often so sort of idiosyncratic, the dialogue in Twin Peaks, that it falls into a whole new category. It's not your average sort of bad TV dialogue.
I'm not criticising the scene because I really like the scene, and I just thought the interplay between Frank Truman and Ben Horn was you know, just felt really unforced, and it was just nice just to see, even though it was basically, you know, from a directing and cinematography point of view, it was just shot, reverse shot, reverse shot.
Well, you know, I was going to say that there's a lot, particularly in this episode, where it's people giving each other information, sitting in rooms and talking over tables, and you know, not to take away from the cast, because I think particularly these two and most of the others in the episode as well did great with what they were given, as you were saying. But yeah, a lot of two-handers, reverse, sort of like, you know, yawn. Yeah.
I think it was just the nature of this episode that it just required.
I don't even think it's this episode though. I actually think it's the season.
Yeah. I mean, but most episodes are punctuated by a little bit of something different, whereas this felt like every scene was just dialogue, people talking, shot, reverse shot. So,
actually, I thought it was kind of awkward with this stuff about Harry. And you know, are you still in touch with Harry? Yeah, I'm still in touch with Harry. And
that is quite odd. It feels like a problem they've made for themselves. I mean, one place it's done really well is in The Godfather Part 2, where Frank Pentangeli replaces Clemenza.
Yeah.
That's done really well. But the constant references to Harry, I kind of want... If they could kill Harry off, it would give the current Sheriff Truman some extra, a very direct bit of grief to carry around with him, rather than the backstory of the son we don't meet.
I really think they should have just they should have just said this is Harry Truman and he's just been recast. You know, in the same way that they recast Donna for Fire Walk with Me. I think Robert Forster would be a fantastic choice. He has literally the same level of sort of everyman gravity, perhaps even more than Michael Onkeen, and I would have been totally cool with that, completely fine with it.
Well, I think me, you, and Rob would have been fine with it, but there could have been like a mini uproar about Michael Onkeen being recast, as he was such a fan favourite.
Well, what kind of fan is going to have a fanny flap about that, honestly? Get over yourselves. Anyway.
I did like it was really surface level flat dialogue about the key. You know, would Harry like this? Yeah. And then that gets repeated a couple of times.
But also, I was thinking about the logic of that. I mean, would he really want a reminder of this kind of this time his mate got possessed by a demon and then disappeared? After raping a couple of people.
The dialogue was so weird and flat. I kind of thought, well, what's the thought underneath this dialogue? It kind of the dialogue was so flat. It gave the illusion of subtext, and I wasn't sure what it was. But I definitely thought it can't be what the dialogue is.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, in that I believe that Michael Onkeen originally said yes and then had to pull out because of ill health. And
sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that. Sorry.
If Michael Onkeen is listening to this episode, he's going to be very, very put out.
I'm sorry, Mr. Onkeen. I didn't mean that.
He could be one of our 7 American fans.
6 now.
And I think you're right in that this scene was supposed to play out slightly differently, and I could imagine a scenario where Michael Onkeen might have noticed the key on the desk, and that could have fed more naturally into this. But because they don't have it, and we've got a different Sheriff Truman, it's almost like they have to kind of force the key in some way, because obviously Frank wasn't around for this, so he has no idea really about the relevance of the key.
I also just think there's a fundamental problem with that key business being passed to Harry, in that it's sort of like I remember when Bill Hicks was joking about if Christ ever comes back to Earth, the last thing he's going to want to see is a crucifix,
I'm also questioning whether the key is needed at all, because when you think about it, Frank Truman has pretty much got all the pieces that he needs. They've got pieces of Laura Palmer's diary, they've got the secret message in the tube, they've got Hawke's living map. They've almost got all the pieces. Map. And that's
a TV show in itself. Hawke's living map.
Yeah. But it's like I just can't see what the key adds to this.
No.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. I don't know.
Gordon and the French lady next.
Next up, we find Gordon in his hotel room, who's entertaining a lady Francais. As he's interrupted by Albert, the lady is very easy on the eye in a sort of Isabella Rossellini type way. This is where things start to fall apart for me, this episode.
Me too.
Yeah,
I would agree. I mean, just don't get me started on the French lady. That's all I'm saying. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit, because I sort of enjoy Lynch's performance here. I mean, I enjoy his sort of unfiltered adoration of this woman, and the fact that I think there is a genuine enjoyment of him watching her and all her sort of quite elegant, cartoony gestures. They're almost sort of caricatures.
If you're going to do it, though, make it Gordon's enjoyment rather than Lynch slipping out of character, which is how it feels to me. It's a lot like when Gordon was at the table sketching the buck, or whatever it was. It was like, is this Lynch or is this Gordon Cole?
Yep, that was definitely confusing. Yeah. It didn't seem amazingly out of character though. I mean, it did make me think a little bit of his little flirt with Shelley in the Double R Diner.
This world of Twin Peaks seems to be filled with beautiful women, although only one I can hear.
Yeah, and there was an aside by Denise as well, who kind of mentioned his love of young women. So I think that is a Gordon Cole trait.
That's the thing. It should have been a callback to Gordon's evident success with beautiful women, but it should have been. I kind of feel like maybe it was if directed slightly differently or performed slightly differently, that would have come through. I could tell what they were going for, but rather than being kind of, I don't know, comically enjoying Albert's frustration with it, I was just completely feeling Albert's frustration with it. I don't know.
I was thinking, because we spoke recently about the sort of misogynist angle on David Lynch, which has been something that's been levelled at him since Blue Velvet, which I thoroughly disagree with. But I must say, watching this scene of him in a part that he's written for himself, sitting on a sofa, being admired by a lady escort, presumably.
Well, it depends if you take at face value his explanation of who she is, that she's the daughter of a mother who somebody's gone missing, leading to that turnip joke.
Yeah, that struck me as very sort of Blue Rose type encoded talk. I might be wrong.
I think it was just a very laboured way of explaining who she is and getting to a turnip joke. I don't think it was a Blue Rose reference at all. It's not,
But having said that, from the misogynist angle or the depiction of females in Lynch work, surprisingly, I had two females, one of whom was your wife, Jason, who expressed a certain joy in this character and this scene. So I was sort of surprised by that.
Yeah.
Can you explain that for us?
Explain why my wife likes that particular scene.
Probably has more to do with your wife being your wife rather than your wife being a female. I did like the bit when she cocks her foot up in the air. But that was on my second viewing. On my first viewing, I really felt like, come on, get on with it.
Well, this technique keeps cropping up in this, which is, we've got urgent plot stuff, but no, there's some slow, irrelevant stuff going on to comically undercut the fact that there's some urgent plot stuff that's now getting delayed. And it's a technique that just keeps coming up.
Well, it's very reminiscent of the last episode of season 2, where we had that ancient bank teller.
We must make a telephone call.
Walking really, really slowly across.
You love that scene, don't you, Jason?
I love that scene, but
it's only the 27th time you've mentioned it.
I know.
Which reminds me, I have a small segment which will probably not be a mainstay of this podcast, because Jason will put the kibosh on it as soon as he gets back in this seat. But yeah, coming up later on, there'll be a little fun for the three of us.
I'm intrigued.
Filler or killer, or filler walk with me. I haven't decided yet, but I'll elaborate more on that. But it's precisely to do with this, with Lynch's tendency to take his time.
But yeah, Lynch clearly loved it.
But what do we think is going on there? I mean, what is he doing with that? Because it's not really giving us much beyond an amusing moment. If that's if that's what floats your boat, then yeah, truly it's at best it's funny, amusing, not a belly laugh, a smile perhaps.
I think it's because Gordon Cole is such a revitalized character in season 3. I think it's probably just an attempt at deepening his character and pulling on some of those elements that we mentioned before about his love of younger ladies.
Yeah,
Maybe. I mean, my suspicion is just that, we have to fill up. We have these 55, 60 minutes episodes, and we have to fill up a bit of space. On more than one occasion, I feel like this is just padding. Especially this season. I'll give the bank teller the benefit of the doubt, but this season there's been more than one occasion where I deeply suspect this is about filling time.
Do we want to talk about what was actually said when Albert finally got a word in?
What Albert said was sort of fairly insubstantial, as I remember. So it was a really long, sort of laborious detour in order to get to something which was fairly insubstantial. What did he say, Jason? Do you remember?
Yeah, basically he was saying that Diane had received a message.
Incoming to Diane. Las Vegas. Outgoing. They haven't asked yet.
Oh, right, from the previous scene, yeah.
Yeah, and Diane says they haven't asked yet.
Oh, yeah, and then Gordon says...
What do we know that we haven't asked her about?
Or something like that.
Yeah, in a way that was a pretty pointless scene, because we've already seen her send the text message, and we know that they're following her text messages, keeping a close eye on them. So, I mean, it was, by and large, an entirely pointless
it was, a very small reward for a fairly long scene.
Well, let's not give it any more time then.
Okay, moving on.
Tim Roth is next with Jennifer Jason Leigh, Gary and Chantel, carrying out presumably Mr. C's orders as they set their sights on Police Warden Murphy, from who we may recall from the prison, and they aren't too interested in torturing him since Chantel is hungry.
We don't have time for torture, babe. I'm hungry.
And so Gary delivers some swift justice, a couple of nasty bullets to the back of the head with brutal cracking sounds, and then they're off for a Wendy's. How do we feel about this? It felt like a little bit like it was from a different show, but enjoyed it nonetheless.
It felt very Tarantino-esque to me.
I think Tim Roth might have helped that.
He does. But also, I thought the kid running out of the house felt just manipulative rather than actually effective.
You mean emotionally manipulative with the son?
With the kid, yes, yeah. Just as a dramatic technique,
Daddy!
Not really to pull the heartstrings, but just to. It's a really over easy technique to remind the audience that, hey, Warden Murphy was a guy with a family type thing. It just felt very a bit cheap to me.
Well, I mean, it certainly helps his closing line, which is next stop Wendy's. It heightens the hyper real evil of Mr. C and his crew, I suppose.
And I think that's probably the other kind of Tarantino element, which is the kind of the
fast food.
To fast food, whilst carrying out a hit. Yeah.
In the scheme of things, I think it was quite a small, inconsequential thing. I think it was just to demonstrate how effective these guys are at picking off Mr. C's enemies, as opposed to some of the lackluster performances from people like Ike the Spike and.
I wouldn't call Ike the Spike's performances lackluster. I mean, that guy was giving it 100%, 110%.
Okay, yeah. But I mean,
he was just let down by a bendy tool.
The problem, though, is that this is an inconsequential scene because Mr. C says to them, "Kill this guy," and then we see the scene of them killing him. We almost don't need the scene. If you can have the scene, show it go wrong, or have something happening that then has some other repercussion that advances the story. This is just showing something that was going to happen whether we saw it or not.
Well, perhaps it's sort of foreshadow what is to come, such as a hit on Dougie Jones.
True.
Who is also a man with a son, who will certainly cry when he finds his dad with his brain spilled all over the driveway.
Perhaps it would help me, though, if those two events occurred in the same episode, rather than perhaps one episode apart or perhaps 2 episodes apart, which is not unlikely. A setup to demonstrate the efficacy of these assassins, and then the next, X number of scenes later in this episode, showing them trying to do the same thing to Dougie, and then a surprising result of some kind, rather than taking on faith that, well, maybe that'll get paid off next week, or the week after, or the week after that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of that's a trust that the show is constantly asking of the audience.
And I have no trust left.
No.
I would say it was, as we go into the next scene, this was the point where 32 minutes in, where I checked to see how much more of this is there to get through.
It's 7 o'clock. Do you know where your freedom is?
And that's Dr. Jacoby / Dr. Amp sitting in his Studio A atop Whitetail Mountain, looking very much like I do now in my Scandinavian outpost, as he delivered his latest broadcast about how the fucks are all at it again.
My thought on this was just deja vu. I didn't
so French.
Need the scene. French. I did not need the scene. Thought it was superfluous, and it was.
It is a bit repetitive.
Very.
It basically does nothing new than the other 2 scenes.
More than anything else, this felt like padding to me. The most padding-y thing in this whole episode was this.
Really?
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Oh, I'll have to add it to my list then of padding. Just a minute. Hang on. It's funny that, Nadine sort of serves a lesser function. She's only been his admirer for this whole season, and that's been her only function. That's a bit sad in a way.
And it makes me think, where's Big Ed?
Where's Big Ed? And where's James? Anyway, we can go through a list like that. But
James has always been cool, though.
Yeah, one of the problems is that Jacoby is talking to a town that's not involved in the story.
Yeah, because the 2 audience members that we know so far are Nadine and Jerry, both of whom feel completely divorced from everything else that's happening with this story.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned the parallel before, but that kind of role works in something like John Carpenter's The Fog, where you've got local DJ Adrian Barbeau doing a running commentary on the story. Yeah. And this is not that.
No, and I love that kind of thing. I love that sort of when you have that on screen and you get that sort of sense of community, and you have this sort of voice which sort of pulls everything together. It's the kind of glue of the disparate narrative strands, and the community. And it's cozy when that works. And I think I remember last time we talked about Chris in the Morning from Northern Exposure, but this is definitely not that. It's quite disembodied from any of the sort of current narrative strands that are surging forward at sort of snail pace. So it does little to support or supplement the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So wonder where it's going.
Same place as Jerry at the moment.
Right out of the woods and
and falling over.
So next will probably be the scene that most people are talking about this week. A very relaxed introduction of a much beloved and long-awaited Sherilyn Fenn, Audrey Horne. She's in a marriage, one of convenience, with a tiny gargoyle of a man, bird claw-like hands.
Well, the actor does have a physical disability, so
Oh God! Now you've made it awful. I need one of Dr. Jacoby's shovels now to get myself out of this hole. I mean, he's cast for a reason. He's cast because he looks like that. So I think it's fair play to mention his appearance. Maybe be less of a cunt about it. Anyway, he said he was good. He was a good performance. It was
really good actor, and despite the scene, I thought he was great in it. Is it a coincidence that Lynch casts little people in roles which are essentially designed to surprise us because he's cast a little person in that role?
It's true. He's got a well-established penchant for The Wizard of Oz. So I wonder if it's something to do with what are they called? The Munchkins?
Yes.
Maybe something about the Munchkins is I know, there was a lot of funny stories coming off of that set, though, I can tell you.
I know.
Yeah. But
such as?
You can Google it, Jason. It's rude and sexual and filthy, horrible stuff. Yeah.
Ding dong.
Ding long dong. I have no idea where we are now. I'm just thinking about Munchkin's ding dong.
We had introduced Charlie, who is the husband of Audrey, and Audrey is upset because Billy is missing, and she wants Charlie to help her go find Billy.
Billy is missing, and she wants Charlie to talk to Tina, and Paul and Chuck are also involved. And I don't.
Yeah, I have no idea
who these people are.
We don't know who these people are. Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. I'm not caring who they are.
That's part of the problem with this very, very, very long scene, which is incredibly indulgent in its, I think, something like 15 minutes running time. Maybe it's not quite that, but it feels very, very long. And I think a lot of people are responding to...
Garland's ex-husband, he claims the Dorothy actress was repeatedly molested by some of the actors who played the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, that'll be it.
Yeah, sorry, I just had to Google it. Moving on.
I'd like to say I've got lots of my friends are dwarfs, but they aren't. I don't have any dwarf friends.
Well, but here's the problem. There's no use getting squeamish about acknowledging the presence of little people cast because David Lynch has deliberately cast them for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, he does cast them a lot, doesn't he? And usually they're either weird or violent. I mean, and this guy is violent as well in a
passive aggressive kind of way.
Yeah, that's precisely
because he's so tired.
But it's a very, very strange character introduction in this series for Audrey. Not just because she's a fan favourite from the original series, so you'd expect more of an entrance, but within the context of this story, it's already been implied that Mr. C has raped her when she's in a coma, and Richard Horne is the product of this. And to introduce her in a very weird pan and then this very odd scene just feels like a very peculiar choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems with of how she's presented as a character. I think a lot of people are disappointed that that their high school sex kitten type sort of amateur detective love interest for Cooper.
Do your palms ever itch?
So she was kind of spunky. This is not the same character anymore.
Spunky is definitely the word I think of when I think of Audrey Horne.
Horn is the word I think of when So it's interesting. It's interesting that people feel betrayed somehow, because the same thing happened to Bobby. I don't have a problem with this, but she's a cruel woman now. She's bitter, and she's behaving in a way that indicates that she's sort of smaller even than her husband.
That's my problem. I think
she's a long way from where we left her. which was in a private plane. Losing her virginity to Billy Zane, but
technically we left her when she
we left her in the bank.
Chained to the bank.
That's true. That's probably where things start to go a bit wrong. But that's okay though, isn't it? Because I mean, we can glean something of what happened to this woman in 25 years.
Yeah. See, that I have no problem with that concept, but the execution of this scene I have a problem with. It's unpleasant and heartbreaking to think someone you imagined having this fantastic future because they were a fantastic person doesn't come to fruition, because that's life, and life is horrible, unkind, and painful. But to do it this way, just...
Are you talking about your life, Rob?
Of course he is.
Of course I am, yeah. That's why I like my art to acknowledge it. because then it makes me feel better about everything. But anyway, back to Audrey. I could accept that, but this scene just feels cack-handed.
Yeah, I had no problem at all with Audrey's introduction, the way her character has mutated. I really liked her husband. I thought he was an interesting character. My only criticism of this scene is that it went on 3 or 4 times longer than it should have done. It felt like,
and it was very boringly staged as well. I mean, they're standing at two ends of a room. Again, it's this sort of two-hander. Neither of them move anywhere, presumably to save time for relighting, or it's this feeling again. It's quickly made. It's boringly shot. It's boringly staged, and it lasts a bloody long time.
Yeah.
I mean, the weird thing for me, actually, in this scene that kind of went almost under the radar is when they talk about the Roadhouse as somewhere essentially local to them, and I suddenly realised, oh, they're in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Where have they been?
And we should also talk about Billy, because this is the whole scene is about her trying to find Billy, who she's having an affair with.
Why don't you ask your crystal ball where the fuck Billy is, who's been missing for 2 days?
Presumably with her husband has full knowledge of this.
He doesn't seem surprised.
He doesn't seem surprised. And there's some hint at maybe some contract.
Renege on a contract?
That's what I will do.
I get the feeling that maybe it's something to do with sex. But she's now having an affair with and fucking, in her own words, this guy Billy, who we've seen before.
He was the guy who owned the truck that was stolen by Richard, and he killed the young child with, and presumably he killed as well. This is why Billy's missing, because we assume that Richard was tidying up loose ends and
oh dear,
tidied up Billy.
Should I have been expected to remember who Billy was?
I didn't. I only know this. I only realised this from a conversation with Jason. So
it is one of those things where I don't think we are immediately supposed to know. I mean, there was I forget which episode it was, but there was one episode where David Lynch's son ran into the diner and said, "Has anyone seen Billy?"
Hey! Has anybody seen Billy?
Well done, Jason. Well done. Yeah, but I mean, it makes the scene infinitely more interesting and sort of worth my time if I do know something about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I watched it the first time I watched it, and the whole Billy thing went straight over. I mean, I didn't pick up on it at all.
Well,
I thought they were deliberately going for a technique where they were talking about people that they knew we had no idea who they were.
Well, most of the people we have no idea who Tina is and things like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, the function that it served was to show us more about their relationship dynamic than to involve us in, whatever their sort of current soap operas were. But so it filled that purpose. I must say, I got some kind of morbid enjoyment out of the ending when he was withholding the information that was driving her nuts.
You're not going to tell me what she said?
About the phone call, yeah. There's a moment in this scene where she challenges him and says,
"Ask your ball."
He says,
"Come on, Audrey. You know I don't have a crystal ball."
And then it cuts to a wider shot of Charlie sitting at his desk, and he has a crystal ball on his desk. That amused me.
Yeah.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Diane is back in the bar, framed in precisely the same way, probably the same shot. I think she's had a close change, but I'm not sure. She's looking at her phone again. This time she's entering the location, which was found on Ruth from Buckhorn, the corpse that Albert and Gordon found. Strangely, she's typing into her phone. She says,
"Co. or din 8."
which I thought was just odd.
Yeah.
My fear is that it was there to make us understand what she was doing, that she was typing in coordinates into her phone, but
I was really worried she was actually typing in the word coordinates.
Yeah. I did like the really chintzy reveal of it kind of going zoom, 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 zoom. Hey, Twin Peaks.
Yeah, I would have ended the episode there.
Yeah, end on the title drop. Boom. And cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how these things are done.
Mm.
But no. To the Roadhouse. Where the Chromatics are playing for the third time, and they're looking more bored than we are.
Yeah,
I think it was the third time.
Bored.
Was it the third time?
I think it's the second time, but
I think it's the third. They certainly looked like they were doing the third time, not the second time. They had a third time look on their faces. So there's 2 more new characters, because we needed more new characters.
Oh my goodness.
Abby and Natalie sitting at the table, gossiping about some more people that we don't know.
Angela, Clark and Mary.
Yeah.
Yep, that's them. And there's also somebody else we don't know called Trick, who sort of turns up.
Who's been run off the road.
Yeah, it's by some ass eater. His words.
Oh my. That is the kind of words you use there. So.
Anyway, so all this, there's a lot of talk about somebody cheating on somebody and something else, a bunch of people we don't know, and honestly, I couldn't care less. What about you?
I have no strong thoughts about. I mean, if it turns out that these are central characters to the final third of the film, then great. You know, this is an introduction to them, but I wonder whether they're on a par with the itchy armpit girl, you know, who just appear in the Roadhouse, never to be seen again.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, what I thought this time around, I thought, what if Lynch is using the Roadhouse as a sort of as a means of just sort of exploring almost kind of drama sketches, sort of slices of life, you know, introducing characters that we don't need to return to, but we just share sort of 5 minutes with them and find out a little bit about their lives.
Can't he do that in his own time? Why does he need to put it in Twin Peaks?
Absolutely, he should do it as a sort of separate web series or something. But what it made me think of was an old comic strip that Lynch did. I think it was pre-Twin Peaks, for a newspaper strip, which was called The Angriest Dog in the World.
Oh yeah.
And I think the text was something like, bound by tension and anger, the dog slowly approaches a state of rigor mortis. Something like that. But basically it was the same frame every time. It was the same frame, apart from the sun was up and then it was down and the moon was out and then the sun was back up again. But this dog was just rigid with anger, you know, tied to this post outside this house. And then, in the background you see a window and there'd be a couple, and that would be the changing element, would be what the couple are saying inside the house, and they're always kind of bitching about something or other. And I thought, that maybe there's a part of Lynch's output which he needs to kind of exercise that or flex that muscle, and maybe that's what he's doing here with these Roadhouse scenes. But I don't know, do it somewhere else.
When he was doing Inland Empire, he filmed an awful lot of stuff, and he filmed a lot of vignettes that were like this, of just people talking. Some of which are on the extras for Inland Empire.
I don't have that disc, but
it's interesting to go through them and see them, and they're all very, very Lynchian. But I think that's where they're best existing, in this kind of like extras category.
Yeah, on a disc somewhere, or Also, he's been making his web series, hasn't he? Since about 2000. I'm a cheapskate, so I never coughed up for the subscription. But he was making his Rabbits series.
Yeah, I loved Rabbits.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that, other than what was in Inland Empire. But so he's got that sort of creative muscle to flex, which is a bit more about sketches and vignettes, as you say. But in a way, if they're sort of framed in that context, I'm much more open to that. But there's so many new characters and so many strands in this Twin Peaks Return that it just doesn't seem the right venue for it.
The way that works...
If that indeed is what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like switching on a soap opera that you don't follow and just catching little scenes of people talking about people and you don't know who they are. And watching this one, it struck me that, that's what he's doing. But he's dumping these little vignettes at the end of episodes, so it's just deflating the whole thing. If you're going to have them, like these little conversations between characters who are residents of Twin Peaks, but we don't know and we'll never know them, have them as sort of transition scenes between scenes that drive the plot along, rather than just having the end of episodes just as a kind of it causes the whole thing to fizzle out rather than a kind of a nice pacing thing to create a sense of a world that the main story is taking place in.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of fizzling out, that'll be the end of our podcast. Oh no, I have a little game to play.
Oh, cool.
So this is the new segment, and this will be the last time we do it probably. But
you'll be surprised.
We'll discuss. I'm ready to be surprised as always by you, Jason. We'll discuss the slower moments in the episode and decide if they're filler or killer. I say killer because I couldn't think of anything else that rhymed with filler. So there it is. So filler would be Lynch and Frost just messing with you because they need to pad out the running time, and killer would be Lynch and Frost deliberately turning down the tempo in order to communicate some plot element or some important aspects of character in a typically Lynchian hyper-real way that you probably won't see done anywhere else. Okay. So I'm thinking about, for example, Chad's passive aggression in episode 9 as he awkwardly carries off his several plates of his evening meal from the sheriff's conference room, or Lucy's mind games as she makes Andy jump through hoops before allowing him to get the red chair as opposed to the beige chair.
Gotcha.
So,
filler or killer?
From 1 to 10, how much were the following scenes guilty of being filler? 10 being obviously the worst. Number 1. Ben talking with Frank Truman. Ben is repeating everything after his conversation with Frankie, then repeats everything to Beverly, and then he sits talking to himself about his dad giving him a cycle. It's a long scene. 1 to 10? Jason?
It advanced the plot a little bit, so I'm probably going to have to go with 6.
I'm going to give it a 7. What about you, Rob?
I was going to go with 5 because I'm kind of feeling charitable, simply because it's a nice bit of character stuff for Ben, and I don't get the sense it's to stall or get the time up. So 5.
Number 2. Gordon's French maybe escort leaving his hotel room in slow motion.
Ooh, for me that is right up there. Probably 9.5
weeks.
Yes. And probably not the full 10, just because we did get a tiny nugget of information out of that scene. But yeah, 9.
Yeah, I'd go with a 9 myself as well. Yeah.
I was going to go 9.5. 9 because I think it's a 9, but a half just so I can kind of get the boot in a bit, because yeah, it annoyed me.
And Sherilyn Fenn's endless circular 12-minute conversation with her diminutive husband about people we don't know.
I'm going to give it probably about 8. Although I feel like if the scene had been halved, I would have no problem with it.
I'm going to give it a 7.
7 was the number I had in mind as well.
No,
because as much as I disliked it, I felt that was the scene they intended it to be, and I feel they were going for an effect that they'd failed to pull off, rather than just adding filler.
Finally, number 4. which Jason, you mentioned as being your most hated culprit in this particular context. Dr. Jacoby's Dr. Amp scene.
10, unequivocally.
Rob?
Yeah, 10. It is just filler.
I'm going to give it a 5 because it was just, it was repetitive, but I was entertained, and it was mercifully much shorter than any of the other scenes that we've been talking about. So, I think our winner is Gordon's escort leaving the hotel room.
Yep, sounds fair.
Yep.
That's this week's filler scene.
Filler or killer.
It tells us nothing new. Even the information that Albert comes along with, we've already seen that. We've already had the scene with Diane doing the text messaging. So all we learn is the fact that they know what we already know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't justify the amount of time they spent there.
No, it's the antithesis of that sublime moment where Chad is having to carry out his lunch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week, but news just in, some bright spark on the interwebs has spotted that the Dr. Jacoby scene from this week was nearly identical to the one in episode 5. So yes, deja vu indeed. Ironically, in crafting this podcast dominated by us complaining about indulgent scenes that go on and on and on, well past their welcome, we ourselves have gone on and on and on with this now being our longest ever podcast. Hopefully, you've made it this far and you're still awake. In preparation for next week, Killer Rob Valentine is already sharpening his knives, ready for when he'll be taking the hosting baton from me. So be sure to join us then at the Formica Table. Okay, good. We'll leave it at that. I think
yeah,
we've
fine.
Lots. Yeah. And there's lots to cut out there.
Mainly about small people.